Hey everybody, Kyle Goth here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel, and I've got my first reaction to the new film Bad Boys Ride or Die. This is the same directors from the previous Bad Boys film. They are back. We get Will Smith and Martin Lawrence returning, as well as a few other returning faces from the previous films in this franchise. Truth be told, I've only watched each Bad Boys movie twice. I'm still a little unfamiliar. I remember more of Bad Boys for Life because of how much I liked that one. But full disclosure, I think the first Bad Boys is just kind of okay. And I think the second one is one of the worst movies ever made. So going into this one and knowing the directors were returning from the third film, I was more excited than I anticipated being. And I had a lot of fun with this one. It's dumb. I think it's maybe a little bit dumber even than Bad Boys for Life. But it definitely feels like we took a play or a couple of plays out of the Fast and Furious playbook, if you will. Because it seems like the story itself has gotten a little sillier while still being heartfelt to the characters and appreciating what works about Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. Traditionally speaking, Will Smith always seems to get the focal point of the two of them. The films always seem to be more about him, whereas I find Martin Lawrence to be the funnier of the two of them. And also the one who has the most heart to him because he is the one that is, he's the Murtaugh to Will Smith's Riggs. He is the one who has the family, who has the people like that he needs to go to. And I think he's the extension for the care that we have as audience members. So this movie gives them both, I think, more of an equal footing than the previous ones. We have a set piece that takes place at like an abandoned, Gator amusement park. So we have that silliness element to it while never betraying the heart that the characters bring to the table. I like that this film actually felt like it combined elements from the previous three movies. Even though I don't like Bad Boys 2 at all, I appreciate that there is reference made to the events of the previous movies. It feels like there's a continuation of the story here. It feels like this is the one that's tying things together. It's unnecessary, but I think it does work. I think the action is well done, well choreographed. Every single action piece in the film has some experimental idea at hand. And what I mean by that is, for example, there's a scene where they're on a helicopter that is falling, and every single sequence or every single shot in that sequence is going from the front of the helicopter to the back or vice versa. So it is constantly moving and shaking. There's a number of sequences where they use drone footage, and I think they do it better than most other movies that have utilized drone footage because you still know who the people are and where they're at. And I think that's important, is you can't just be like, look at the drone, it's all cool. It still has to place the characters in the action. And there's a sequence near the end of the film where the camera is actually focused on the gun that one of the characters is holding and how they're throwing it back and forth and using it. So it always is on the gun's perspective of the enemy or on our two characters, which is a really cool idea. And again, it's an experimental idea for action that actually doesn't damage the story, or it doesn't get you lost in what's going on. It's not just a bunch of boom, boom, bam, bam. It's actually, you're still seeing where the characters are. You're still moving the story forward. So it's a cool visual piece that also doesn't just say, well, bam, bam, bam. Because I think in that sequence especially, you could lose where the characters are on the chessboard if you focus too much on, let's make a cool, gun thing, and we'll have the camera on that. I saw some behind the scenes footage on the rig that was posted to the gun as Will Smith was walking around. I thought that was really cool. The film is just kind of having more fun with itself. Specifically, there's a scene in the trailer where the two guys are stealing clothes from some white dudes, and they have to sing Reba to prove that these shirts actually belong to them. And it's dumb, but it's funny, and they're having more fun with that as well. And there's some ways in which they elaborate on the Bad Boys theme during that I think was really cool. There's just more experimental action, but there's things about it that are just that maybe are a little too dumb at times. I loved what happened. So early on in the film, Martin Lawrence's character goes through a bit of a internal moment, if you will, where he's kind of actually seeing the world outside of his body, if you will, and he's floating through water while he's having this dream sequence. I thought most of it worked pretty well. There was a scene at in there where like he comes across people who have passed away, and it's very much like it's not your time yet. Comes out like that. That's kind of pushing it too far. But I love that they're trying something with it. Yeah, I think that the film opens with some solid comedy. It's fun. It's funny. It's lighthearted when it needs to be. It's serious when it needs to be. I had a lot of fun with Bad Boys Ride or Die. It is not going to make my top 10 films of the year, nor does it have to. And I think it's almost as good as Bad Boys for Life, while still being leagues better than those first two movies. So those are my thoughts on Bad Boys Ride or Die. I think this is a fun popcorn movie. There's a lot of really great payoff in this movie to things that don't even necessarily need payoff. And you might know what I mean when I say that as you're watching the movie. There are things that feel like they've been 3 movies in the making up until this point, but they weren't. They just find, like, the two directors found a way to really utilize it. The sequence, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a sequence involving Martin Lawrence's son-in-law that feels like payoff for something that was never set up, and it still worked really well. So yeah, I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. It opens on Friday. While you're down there, please like and subscribe. There are 2 free things you can do. Oh, hi. To help to support the channel, and you never miss new episodes of the show as they drop. You can also find goatfilmreviews.com for my many written reviews, including my written review for Bad Boys Ride or Die. And you can find Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can follow me at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. You can find my show Kyle and Nick on Film that I co-host with Nick Blodchuk from the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes of that show every single week. What else is there, Goku? Oh, Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. There's a link down in the description for this video. Go ahead and check that out, and you can find other critics' reviews on Bad Boys Ride or Die as well as my own. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.